If you're a hardcore internet user like myself, then there's no doubt that you've seen some creepy or even downright disturbing stuff in the good old www, whether it be analog horror that makes me terrified to grab stuff in the kitchen at 2 AM, found footage videos that make me want to stay away from abandoned places, but sometimes you get what's commonly known as surreal horror, where no matter how many times we watch it, we don't really know what to make of it. Like, we're unsure if it's weird, scary, or somewhat funny and even humorous. I myself have witnessed some strange stuff with the interweb, stuff that I should never have seen before and will most likely haunt me for the next few decades. But despite all the creepy stuff I've seen over the years, there is one piece of media on the internet that has intrigued me for so long, a series that becomes more and more twisted as we look further down the rabbit hole, and that piece of internet media is known as Alfred's Playhouse, or just Alfred, I guess. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if you never heard of Alfred's Playhouse before, so to fill you guys in, Alfred's Playhouse is an old web animated series that premiered on Newgrounds in the mid-2000s. It's about a dog named Alfred where a lot of... It's very... Look, describing this series is a very tricky thing to do. Why is that, I hear you asking? Well, there are many harsh themes present here like SA, abuse, self-harm, and even some Nazi imagery. If all that makes you uncomfortable, then now is your time to stop watching this video. Go watch something like, I don't know, Dream, cause why not? Now, with all that out of the way, I want to fully dive deep into the story behind Alfred's Playhouse, and see just how messed up things can get. Spoilers, things get very messy, so be careful please. Now, in order to properly dive deep into Alfred's Playhouse, allow me to introduce you guys to the main focus of this video, the creator of Alfred's Playhouse, Emily Youcis. Or Youcis, I've never been good at names, sadly. Now, one thing that I should mention right off the bat is that Emily Youcis is a very troubled person. She has stated several times that she has had a very difficult and traumatic childhood growing up, which I will not laugh about at all since that is a very heavy subject. In a lot of her animations featuring the character of Alfred, she projects a lot of her childhood struggles with the use of visuals, dialogue, or even music. You could consider Alfred's Playhouse as this sort of vent piece for Emily, a way for her to cope with her trauma, which I usually wouldn't judge. Oh, and she's also a Nazi. Yeah, so in a lot of her animations, Emily tends to show some Nazi imagery, like a concerning amount of Nazi imagery. I really don't want to show a lot of it on screen cause YouTube! And also, I don't want to shit on Emily and call her human garbage since she is clearly very troubled and was not in a good mindset while making these animations. Nowadays, she has basically burnt all of her bridges due to her actions online and hasn't done much on the internet as of late. I would say we separate the art from the artist with these tricky situations, but unfortunately, Alfred's Playhouse is heavily tied to Emily and her struggles, so it's near impossible to talk about Alfred's Playhouse and not talk about Emily and all the shit she has done. But I know you guys want to hear about the actual animations, right? Well, let's get into that. Sometime in 2006, we will get the first animation to include Alfred the dog, that being Alfred Gets Fixed. Honestly, there isn't anything too disturbing here. There is some gory imagery here and there, but honestly, that was somewhat common with Newgrounds back then. Aside from the gore, the animation was kinda charming with some cool designs and animation. Not much else to say honestly, it was pretty good. Then a year later in 2007, we will get to see more animations with Alfred, and very quickly we see just how messed up and strange things can get. In The Rise of Alfred, we start to see some of the more disturbing themes that will later go on to haunt the show. The first major red flag we see is, well, Hitler, and lots of violent imagery. Now granted, this can be viewed as dark humor made by an edgy teenager, which is true. Emily was just 16 when she made this animation, and around that age, we all do some stupid shit. I know I did. It's the Nutsack! But very quickly in the next few animations, we would see a lot of these themes start to repeat themselves. There is a lot of references to communism, Stalin imagery, and even Nazi imagery. The animations would only become more and more unsettling with its hidden messages and themes, even hinting to sexual assault and abuse, which of course is a very sensitive topic that I don't really want to dive into. But looking past all of that, these animations will quickly blow up online thanks to the new set of animations Emily created called Alfred's Playhouse. Despite how creepy and even downright disturbing the animations were, viewers were intrigued and, in a very weird way, they were also somewhat entertained. The animations were in this weird state of being severely fucked up, but also kind of enjoyable. It was a unique kind of dark humor where no one really knew whether they wanted to laugh, cry, or be terrified. Also, do keep in mind that this was the 2000s, where we were used to seeing some messed up shit online. But Emily would gain a lot of success thanks to Alfred's Playhouse, and of course she capitalized on the success. Something that I found interesting was that there was an Alfreds Playhouse movie which was produced solely by Emily. I never actually heard about this film until one of my buddies told me about it. The movie's up on Facebook if you're interested in checking it out. It's very interesting. But she actually did a lot of stuff outside of Alfred's Playhouse, most notably starring a band called Emily, Youcis and the Vagrants, which was this indie punk rock / heavy metal band that was somewhat successful. Then Emily did some things that kind of broke up the band, but we'll get into that later on. And weirdly enough, she got some fame working at the Philadelphia's Philly Stadium selling concessions. She became known online as the Pistachio Girl for just being very quirky, I guess. It's kind of weird because I remember hearing about the Pistachio Girl way before Alfred's Playhouse. So hey, small world, am I right? By this point, things were starting to go well for her. It was clear that she had some issues, but people back then didn't really notice it. They just all assumed she was interesting. So what could possibly go wrong? Oh yeah, she kinda ruined her career. Now, I don't want to dive too deep into her downfall since it's very complicated, but from what I could gather from my research, she started to make her beliefs on Nazis and communism very clear to the public. She also made it clear that she believed in white supremacy, even marrying a man who shared the same beliefs as her. She also apparently supported Donald Trump, which I honestly couldn't care less about. American politics to me are so silly and I could never follow them for my life. But you get the idea, right? Emily had so many controversial opinions and was not afraid to stand by them. It's honestly quite sad since just by watching her old animations, it's clear that Emily is insanely talented. Even in a recent animation she made where she sang I Remember You, it looks downright phenomenal. But sadly, she just threw away all of her opportunities. Alfred's Playhouse really fascinates me, as it's like this deep dive into the mind of someone who is clearly very troubled, and seeing someone like Emily who is very talented go off the deep end is just really tragic to see. But it's not all completely terrible. While Emily's career is kinda fucked now, she seems to be doing okay for herself and I do hope the best for her. Like I said, it's obvious that she had a rough childhood growing up and her animations do reflect that. In terms of her later controversies, well, I will say that people who believe in communism are idiots, but I also believe that people can grow over time and forget about their old beliefs. Like when I used to believe that the Irish government knew what they were doing. Anyway, I think that concludes this video. I know this is not usually the type of video I make, but college has been a thing these past few months, so I only have the time to make smaller videos. Don't worry though, I got bigger stuff planned, so stay tuned for that. And I guess I need a wholesome message to end off this video, so... communism is bad. Don't do communism. Boo. Anyway, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.